Good morning, Winterview back again with another brief dialogue for his dear friend, Annastacey. As usual, Winterview driving to work. Beautiful sunny morning. Winterview running late for work this morning after, how should we say, faffing around, doing the inessential, ignoring the essential. However, the office is in holiday mode, so no one is particularly gonna care, I'd say. Terrible attitude, I know. What can you do? So this morning's brief dialogue is on peace. The idea of peace as imagined by the seeker. Once again, start with the basics. There is no separate, independent self in the body or as the body. Okay, that's the basics covered. There is no self, no person. This is the core, fundamental point. From this single point, a myriad of confusion arises. So what we're doing is chipping away at the confusion. Why are we doing that? There is no reason. I just like it. There might be a concomitant, gets to use the C word in the sentence, concomitant feeling of relaxation on chipping away at some of these concepts, and that's about the end of the benefits. The seeker imagines all sorts of wonderful benefits from studying or listening to dialogues like this. But the seeker is sorely mistaken because, said it before, say it again, there is no seeker. So, the error of causality is a very common error, especially amongst the peoples interested in non-duality / enlightenment. Not their fault, not anyone's fault, because there is no one. That was a little Advaita humour. But seriously, the idea of causality is all messed up in this arena. The reports from, well, let's say it, people, no other way to say that, the reports of people who claim liberation and enlightenment are often packaged with peace, or the idea of peace, the presence of peace, etc., the feeling of peace, the profound peace and bliss of no self. This sets up in the mind a target, a wonderful target, that if I can find peace, ergo, I will find enlightenment. Or peace leads to enlightenment. A very common yet erroneous conclusion. And the other thing too that's playing or entering into the arena at this point is that peace is highly endorsed, high social acceptability in our culture, to be peaceful, to be calm, and all those kinds of wonderful superlatives about the Zen-like peace and tranquility of the individual are revered in and worshipped, because most people are not peaceful. Most people are running around like forest creatures, beating each other and having sex and getting drunk, driving too fast behind Winterview on the way to work. That's the typical arena of the human forest creature. Busyness and chaos. So when the occasional one of us finds something called peace, all the rest go, wow, That's amazing. What do I do to get a bit of that kind of thing? And of course that leads to all sorts of wonderful inquiries and investigations into meditation and retreats and strange diets and breathing techniques, and of course liberation itself. So with the error of causality a prominent feature at least in the mind of the seeker looks at the enlightened, so-called enlightened being or person, and decides that they must emulate that person somehow. And peace is the most obvious characteristic. This enlightened being who is sitting quietly with an enigmatic smile, not getting flustered about the trivialities of daily life. Little daily hassles just bounce off their aura of light. That kind of thing. So in the mind it thinks, well, if it's about peace, what I need to do is get myself peaceful. And so we find these practices emerging out of the mind, like meditation. I will meditate my way to enlightenment. I will become so peaceful that what will happen is enlightenment will just creep up on me. And of course it's powerfully reinforced by the practice of meditation. When you do in fact try to meditate, at least maybe not the first day, but soon enough, there is peace. There is a feeling of calm. The mind quietens down, the busyness of the world seems to drift away. There's a little bit of detachment that comes out, and before you know it, you feel quite peaceful. And this feels, for all intents and purposes, like you are on your way to liberation, which further suggests that the idea of the person is firmly in play, that peace, this idea of peace, is for the person, and the idea of progress to or away from enlightenment is measured with respect to the person. The person is getting closer to or further away from liberation, because the person is either peaceful or peaceless. Does that make sense? Good. I'm glad we covered that in sufficient depth for your understanding. And that is ergo. I got to say ergo twice today. Ergo again. Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. I got so excited by the word ergo. Okay, so we've talked about peace, but there are other... Did you hear the engine rev out then? That's a 1.3 litre engine, baby. So the... what else we got? There's a lot of mythology around enlightenment and liberation. Powers, people that seem to follow you around and worship your every utterance. A seeming ability to just drop out of the world and everything just magically takes care of itself for you somehow. You don't have to worry about bills and work and food and sex and all that, muck of human existence. You can just sort of bow out, so to speak. And so that sets up a whole myriad of concepts and ideas that the person can do or engage in to somehow become more liberated, or the feeling that they're on their way to liberation. Dietary shifts, staring at trees in the woods on long, quiet nature hikes, burning incense, sitting solemnly, not going out with your friends to the pub for a few beers anymore, wearing natural fibre clothing, and not watching trashy TV or buying tabloid papers and magazines anymore. All that stuff falls away because enlightened people do not do that. So you will feel like you're more on your way if you can somehow structure your life to be more in line with the enlightened vibe, you might say. So again, we're back to the error of causality. All these so-called side effects of liberation are taken as causal mechanisms to trigger liberation. This is a back-to-front way of thinking. But at the end of the day, all those things are for the person. That is where the stickiness, you might say, arises. It's the person is Velcro, sticky. Everything is done in relation to or with respect to this magical, mystical creature called the person. It is the person who wants liberation. It is the person who wants enlightenment. It is the person who thinks that they are giving up things to progress towards enlightenment. The person needs to get more peaceful. The person becomes the yardstick. The way that the person is the yardstick, you could say. So the mind takes a sort of summary statement, a mission, not a mission statement, what do you call it? Like an annual report from the person. How am I? Yeah, I'm a bit stressed out this year. Not very peaceful. A little bit overweight. Still got all these neuroses and hang-ups about my childhood. I didn't get to go on that retreat because it was sold out. I got to wait till next year. So my journey is not looking good at the moment, based on this summary statement of the state of the person, you could say. Whereas someone else, it could be going very well. They've just had a year of vegetarianism. They've managed to meditate every morning and every evening, which is great. They have given up TV, given up reading gossip magazines, given up going to tarot card readers, they've given up horoscopes, given up alcohol. They're doing really well, and they have just returned from the retreat, the 2-month mountain retreat of silent meditation where no one said shit for a long time, and it felt good. So that person is definitely closer to liberation, you might say. So there's the stickiness. Of course, I'm being totally facetious. There is no closer to or further away from. Neither of those fictional characters have any closer to or away from, not because they're doing the wrong or right techniques. Say it again, I said it before, there is no person. There is no person in the middle whom could be doing any of that. Any meditation or non-meditation. Any peace or non-peace. Any reading of trashy tabloids or reading of spiritual literature. No one can do that. No one has ever done that. So you can see clearly, I hope, the stickiness of the person. How the person becomes the benchmark for progress. If there is no person, if there is no one in the center, then suddenly it's seen, even intellectually, and that's all we're doing here, a little intellectual repartee, you might say. Even intellectually, it's seen that if there is no one there, then the idea of endeavor in any respect falls over. Because you cannot frame endeavor without a subject, without a person to whom it's happening or who is endeavoring. Let's take a simple example of eating. So you take a person, the person is having dinner. Now we remove the person from dinner. And what's happening? How would you describe it? All you could really say would be sort of verb kind of words. Verb descriptions. Eating, chewing, swallowing, tasting, feelings of fullness, feelings of hunger. All that is suddenly the only way you could really describe that. And what else do you notice? It becomes very immediate suddenly. Because that's all that can be said. That's all that can be said. Taking away the person brings in the immediacy of everything. Because the person is the only creature that things can happen to. Remember, it's a target. The person becomes a sticky target that things are going to happen to, or it's moving away from. It had a bad accident, and it's moving away from the accident in time. It's going to get a new job one day, so it's heading towards the new job in time. But when you take away the person, what happens? The heading towards the new job becomes feelings of anticipation in the present. That's all it is, feelings of anticipation. Feelings of regret. Feelings of warm nostalgia arising presently. So even intellectually, we can see that the removal of the sticky person brings in the immediacy of the immediateness. Making up words here, making up words. Okay. Going to fill up the old auto with a bit of petrol. That's enough brief dialoguing for today. Thanks again for your time. Comments, as usual, are welcome.